Implementation of Demokraatit Party's business-focused reforms by Q2 2025, an in-depth report. Overview. The Demokraatit Party has emerged as a pivotal political entity in Greenland, particularly following their impressive performance in the recent parliamentary elections. Securing nearly 30% of the vote in 10 out of 31 parliamentary seats, the party is poised to implement a business-centric reform agenda aimed at achieving economic independence from Denmark by the second quarter of 2025. Under the leadership of Jens-Frederik Nielson, the party's vision integrates market-oriented principles with an emphasis on sustaining living standards for Greenland's citizens. Key legislative phases. The reform agenda of the Demokraatit Party can be broken down into four crucial legislative phases. 1. Initial planning and legislative proposals Q4 2023. Upon taking office, the Demokraatit Party is expected to initiate a series of legislative proposals targeting economic independence. This phase will focus on creating favorable business conditions to attract both domestic and foreign investments, particularly in Greenland's rich mineral resource sector. The legislative proposals will outline regulatory frameworks intended to enhance investment opportunities and ensure sustainable resource management. 2. Budget allocation Q1 2024. A significant budget allocation of $1.2 billion has been proposed to fund the reforms. This budget is earmarked for vital infrastructure developments, especially in sectors like fishing and tourism, which are crucial for Greenland's economic growth. The allocation will also aim to support initiatives that bolster local businesses and create a conducive environment for foreign investments. 3. Implementation of reforms Q2 2024. By mid-2024, the Demokraatit Party anticipates the implementation of key reforms. These reforms will focus on establishing regulatory frameworks that prioritize the utilization of domestic resources while simultaneously attracting foreign investments. The government aims to create incentives for businesses to operate within Greenland, thereby fostering a self-sustaining economy. 4. Review and adjustments Q1 2025. The Demokraatit Party plans to conduct a comprehensive review of the implemented reforms by early 2025. This review will assess the economic performance resulting from these reforms and make necessary adjustments based on feedback from constituents and market conditions. The goal is to ensure the reforms are effectively addressing the challenges faced by Greenland's economy and are sustainable in the long run. Context and implications. Geopolitical significance. The geopolitical relevance of Greenland has intensified, especially with the increased interest from global powers like the United States. Former President Donald Trump's administration expressed a keen interest in Greenland's resources, further complicating the dynamics of independence discussions. This external interest not only highlights Greenland's strategic importance but also raises questions about its economic viability post-independence. Concerns over economic viability. While many Greenlanders support the idea of independence, there exists a palpable concern regarding the potential decline in living standards without the financial backing currently provided by Denmark. Approximately half of Greenland's state budget is funded by Denmark, and the transition to full independence raises serious questions about economic sustainability. Resource exploitation. Greenland is endowed with significant natural resources, including rare earth elements. The Demokraatit Party's agenda includes tapping into these resources to foster economic growth. However, the environmental implications of resource exploitation, especially in light of climate change, are critical considerations that the party must navigate carefully. Common themes across sources. 1. Growing interest in Greenland. The geopolitical landscape surrounding Greenland has shifted, with increased attention from major powers regarding its mineral resources. This growing interest has invigorated discussions about independence as the potential for economic development becomes intertwined with international relations. 2. Economic concerns. Many Greenlanders express hesitance regarding independence, fearing that the lack of Danish financial support could lead to reduced living standards. The Demokraatit Party must address these concerns to garner broader support for their reform agenda. 3. Environmental considerations. The potential exploitation of Greenland's resources raises environmental concerns, particularly regarding the impact of climate change. Balancing economic growth with environmental sustainability will be a significant challenge for the Demokraatit Party. Timeline of events. February 2025, the Demokraatit Party announces its intentions and budget allocation. Q1 2024, legislative proposals aimed at economic independence and business reforms are expected. Q2 2024, implementation of key reforms designed to foster investment and manage resources. Q1 2025, a review of the legislative impact and necessary adjustments to the reform agenda. Conclusion. The Demokraatit Party's reform agenda signifies a transformative moment for Greenland, aiming to balance aspirations for independence with the economic realities of resource management and international interest in the Arctic. The proposed timeline for implementation is ambitious, with the objective of establishing a fully independent and economically sustainable Greenland by mid-2025. The success of these reforms will hinge on the party's ability to address public concerns, navigate geopolitical dynamics, and ensure environmental sustainability in its resource management strategies. The content provided offers a comprehensive overview of the Demokraatit Party in Greenland and its ambitious agenda for business-focused reforms and independence from Denmark by Q2 2025. It also discusses the geopolitical implications of Greenland's resources, particularly in light of external interest from countries like the United States. Here are some counterintuitive insights and observations drawn from the content. 1. Independent yet dependent. While the Demokraatit Party aims for independence to bolster economic autonomy, the fear expressed by many Greenlanders about declining living standards suggests that independence might lead to greater economic vulnerability. This presents a paradox. The push for independence is fueled by the desire for self-determination, yet the current economic structure heavily relies on Danish subsidies. The anticipated reforms could either solidify independence or destabilize the economy further, revealing a counterintuitive tension between autonomy and economic reliance. 2. Geopolitical opportunity versus environmental risk. The growing interest from the U.S. in Greenland's resources, spurred by geopolitical competition, could be seen as an opportunity for economic development through mining and resource extraction. However, this comes with significant environmental concerns, especially regarding climate change and the potential disruption of local ecosystems. This duality showcases how actions aimed at economic growth could inadvertently lead to environmental degradation, challenging the sustainability of such development. 3. Local support versus global interests. The support for independence among Greenlanders appears strong, with multiple parties advocating for independence but differing in their approaches and timelines, illustrates a counterintuitive reality where the desire for a common goal, independence, can lead to fragmentation and conflict. The Demokraatit Party's cautious approach contrasts sharply with the more radical aspirations of other parties, suggesting that unity in purpose does not necessarily equate to unity in action. 6. Cultural identity versus economic pragmatism. There is a notable tension between the cultural identity of Greenlanders and the practical economic measures proposed by the Demokraatit Party. The emphasis on a market-oriented approach to independence may risk overshadowing indigenous cultural values and traditions that are integral to the identity of Greenland. This underscores a counterintuitive scenario where economic strategies might undermine the very cultural essence that independence seeks to preserve. 7. Evolving geopolitical interests. The shift in U.S. interest under President Trump. From a transactional approach to one that emphasizes respect for local governance reflects a counterintuitive evolution in international relations. The initial aggressive stance towards acquiring Greenland has transformed into a more diplomatic approach, indicating that geopolitical strategies can be fluid and may pivot dramatically based on public sentiment and political landscapes. These counterintuitive insights illustrate the multifaceted challenges and opportunities facing Greenland as it navigates its path towards independence and economic reform. Each point reveals the complexities inherent in the interplay between local aspirations, global politics, and the pressing realities of economic sustainability and environmental stewardship. In the report regarding the Demokraatit Party's implementation of business-focused reforms in Greenland, several critical elements may be overlooked. Here are the significant points along with their implications. 1. Ambitious timeline for independence. The Demokraatit Party aims to achieve independence from Denmark by Q2 2025. While many may focus on the party's electoral gains and proposed reforms, the urgency of this timeline is often understated. Achieving independence within such a short period poses significant challenges, particularly given the complex geopolitical and economic landscape. The party's leader Jens-Frederik Nielson emphasizes a gradual approach to independence to ensure economic stability. Overlooking this detail could lead to misinterpretations about the feasibility of their proposed changes and the potential risks involved. 2. Geopolitical context and external interests. The report highlights growing international interest in Greenland, especially from the U.S. under President Trump's administration. This geopolitical context is crucial as it influences both the internal political dynamics and external investment opportunities. Many may overlook how this interest shapes Greenland's strategy for independence and resource management, as external powers often complicate the narrative of self-determination. The implications of U.S. interest could lead to both opportunities and vulnerabilities for Greenland, particularly if dependence on foreign investment becomes significant. 3. Concerns over economic viability. The report mentions that many Greenlanders express concerns about the economic viability of independence without Denmark's financial support. While some may focus solely on the potential benefits of resource exploitation, the fears of declining living standards are significant. Ignoring these concerns can lead to an oversimplified view of the independence movement, failing to account for the underlying anxieties that could affect public support for the Demokraatit Party's reforms. The potential for economic hardship could lead to social unrest or political backlash if not addressed adequately. 4. Environmental considerations. The discussion of resource exploitation, particularly regarding Greenland's mineral resources, is critical yet often treated superficially. The report touches on the need for responsible management of these resources but does not delve deeply into the potential environmental impacts of increased mining and industrial activities. Many may overlook the tension between economic growth and environmental sustainability, which could have long-term consequences for both the ecosystem and the local communities. The significance of addressing these concerns lies in the need for a balanced approach to development that prioritizes both economic and environmental health. 5. Role of domestic resource utilization. The emphasis on promoting domestic resource utilization and attracting foreign investments is a pivotal aspect of the party's reform agenda. However, the complexities of establishing a regulatory framework that effectively balances these goals may not receive the attention they deserve. The significance of this lies in the party's ability to navigate challenges such as regulatory compliance, investment risks, and potential environmental repercussions while fostering a stable economic environment. Failure to achieve this balance could impede the reform agenda and undermine the party's credibility. 6. Cultural and social dimensions. The report mentions the growing pride in Inuit culture as a factor influencing the independence movement. This cultural dimension is often overlooked in discussions about political and economic reforms. The significance of recognizing and integrating traditional knowledge and practices into the reform agenda cannot be overstated, as it can foster community support and enhance social cohesion. Ignoring this aspect may lead to policies that are perceived as alien or disconnected from the local populace, potentially undermining the reform's legitimacy. 7. Implementation phases and flexibility. The 4 key legislative phases outlined in the report suggest a structured approach to reform implementation. However, the need for flexibility and adaptability in response to changing circumstances such as global economic conditions or domestic public sentiment is crucial. Many may overlook the importance of having contingency plans and the ability to pivot in response to unforeseen challenges. The significance of this adaptability lies in ensuring the sustainability and acceptance of the reforms amidst potential opposition or economic fluctuations. In conclusion, while the Demokraatit Party's reform agenda presents an ambitious plan for Greenland's future, several critical elements warrant deeper consideration. The interplay between economic aspirations, geopolitical interests, cultural dimensions, and environmental concerns is intricate and must be navigated thoughtfully to achieve a successful transition toward independence. Overlooking these factors could lead to miscalculations in both policy formulation and public support, ultimately impacting the viability of the proposed reforms. The Demokraatit Party in Greenland has embarked on a transformative business-focused reform agenda with the ultimate goal of achieving independence from Denmark by Q2 2025. The party, which has gained significant traction since the last parliamentary elections, has outlined a series of legislative phases and budget allocations to facilitate this ambitious plan. Here are the 4 most valuable points for in-depth analysis and discussion, each of which encapsulates critical aspects of the party's agenda and its implications for Greenland. 1. Legislative phases and implementation timeline. The Demokraatit Party has established a comprehensive timeline of 4 key legislative phases leading up to their goal of independence. Initial planning and legislative proposals Q4 2023. This phase will involve introducing reforms aimed at economic independence, particularly focusing on creating favorable conditions for business investments in Greenland's mineral resources. Budget allocation Q1 2024. A proposed budget of $1.2 billion will be allocated to finance these reforms, emphasizing infrastructure development in key sectors such as fishing and tourism, which are critical for sustaining economic growth. Implementation of reforms Q2 2024. Significant reforms are slated to be enacted, focusing on regulatory frameworks that not only promote domestic resource utilization but also attract foreign investments. Review and adjustments Q1 2025. A detailed review of the reforms will be conducted to assess their economic impact and make necessary adjustments based on performance and global market conditions. This structured timeline reflects a strategic approach to governance, indicating the party's intent to methodically transition toward independence while addressing economic viability and sustainability. 2. Economic viability and concerns over independence. A central theme in the discussions surrounding the Demokraatit Party's agenda is the tension between aspirations for independence and concerns about economic viability. Many Greenlanders express apprehension that independence could lead to a decline in living standards, particularly given Denmark's substantial financial contributions to the local economy. Currently, Denmark provides nearly $1 billion annually, which constitutes a significant portion of Greenland's budget. The party has sought to mitigate these concerns by emphasizing the importance of a robust economic strategy that leverages Greenland's rich mineral resources, particularly rare earth elements, to create a sustainable economic model. The successful management of these resources could provide the financial foundation necessary for an independent Greenland, but this also raises questions regarding environmental sustainability and the potential socio-economic ramifications of resource exploitation. 3. Geopolitical context and external interest. The geopolitical landscape surrounding Greenland has shifted dramatically, particularly with the renewed interest from the U.S. under previous administrations. The idea of U.S. investment in Greenland has been a double-edged sword. While it presents opportunities for economic growth and development, it also poses challenges in terms of sovereignty and external influence. with the U.S. government expressing interest in Greenland's resources. Including its strategic location and mineral wealth, the Demokraatit Party's agenda must navigate this complex geopolitical terrain. The party's approach to independence is thus intertwined with international relations, particularly as external powers like the US, Russia, and China vie for influence in the Arctic region. The implications of this geopolitical interest could significantly affect the speed and manner in which Greenland pursues its independence, potentially complicating internal dynamics as well as international negotiations. 4. Cultural identity and indigenous rights. As Greenland strives for independence, the role of cultural identity and indigenous rights becomes increasingly significant. The Demokraatit Party's reform agenda must be mindful of the indigenous population's aspirations and the importance of preserving their cultural heritage amidst economic development. The rise of Inuit pride and the desire for self-determination are critical elements in the broader discourse on independence. The Demokraatit Party's agenda must align with the values and concerns of the indigenous community, ensuring that economic growth does not come at the expense of their rights and cultural practices. Furthermore, the integration of indigenous perspectives in policymaking could facilitate a more inclusive governance model, which is essential for fostering social cohesion in a transitioning political landscape. Conclusion. The Demokraatit Party's business-focused reforms represent a pivotal moment in Greenland's pursuit of independence. The structured legislative phase's economic viability concerns geopolitical context, and cultural identity considerations form the backbone of a complex and multifaceted agenda. As Greenland navigates this transformative period, it will be essential for leaders to strike a balance between economic aspirations and the socio-cultural fabric of the nation, ensuring a sustainable and equitable path toward independence. 1. The Independence Movement of India 1947. The struggle for India's independence from British colonial rule culminating in 1947 involved various political movements and significant legislative phases. Key figures like Mahatma Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru led the fight for freedom, emphasizing economic self-sufficiency and social reform. The Indian Independence Act of 1947, which partitioned British India into two independent dominions, India and Pakistan, is a notable legislative achievement. This movement was characterized by a strong desire for self-governance and economic independence, much like Greenland's current ambitions. 2. The American Revolution 1775 to 1783. The American colony's quest for independence from British rule shares similarities with Greenland's aspirations. The Continental Congress played a crucial role in legislative actions, culminating in the Declaration of Independence in 1776. The revolution was driven by a desire for economic freedom and self-determination alongside resistance against perceived injustices, including taxation without representation. The eventual victory and establishment of the United States mark a significant moment of achieving independence, paralleling Greenland's current reform efforts. 3. The Quebec sovereignty movement, late 20th century. The movement for Quebec's independence from Canada has been marked by significant political and legislative efforts. The Part 1 Québécois, which advocates for Quebec's sovereignty, has proposed various referendums and legislative measures aimed at achieving self-determination. The 1980 and 1995 referendums, though unsuccessful, reflect the complexities of pursuing independence while balancing economic concerns. This ongoing struggle for autonomy and the economic implications of independence resonate with Greenland's current situation as it seeks to navigate its path towards self-governance. The future outlook for the Demokraatit Party's business-focused reforms in Greenland's path toward independence is shaped by several key predictions and considerations that will unfold by Q2 2025. This transformative agenda, underscored by a $1.2 billion budget allocation, aims to create a sustainable economic framework while navigating the complexities of independence from Denmark. 1. Economic growth through strategic reforms. As Demokraatit implements its legislative agenda, a significant focus will be on creating favorable conditions for investment, particularly in mineral resources and tourism. By mid-2024, the initial reforms are expected to attract foreign investment and enhance domestic industries, particularly fishing and tourism, which are crucial for Greenland's economy. The hope is to create an economic environment that supports job creation and boosts local living standards, countering fears of economic decline post-independence. 2. Infrastructure development and job creation. The $1.2 billion budget allocation is anticipated to fund essential infrastructure projects, including improvements in transportation, communication, and resource management. These developments should lead to increased employment opportunities and enhanced economic resilience. By Q1 2025, the success of these initiatives will likely be evaluated, with adjustments made based on performance metrics, ensuring that the economic benefits are equitably distributed across the population. 3. Balancing independence aspirations with economic realities. While there is a strong desire for independence, many Greenlanders remain cautious about the implications. The Demokraatit Party's approach, advocating for a gradual transition, aims to address these concerns by ensuring economic stability is prioritized. By mid-2025, public sentiment towards independence may evolve based on the perceived success of economic reforms and the tangible benefits they bring. If reforms lead to a thriving economy, support for independence may solidify. Conversely, any signs of economic distress could foster resistance to the independence movement. 4. Geopolitical dynamics and external interest. Global interest in Greenland, particularly from the United States and China, will play a significant role in shaping the future. The geopolitical landscape, influenced by climate change and resource availability, may lead to increased foreign investment or intervention. By Q2 2025, as international stakeholders become more involved in Greenland's resource management, the government will need to navigate these relationships carefully to ensure that Greenland's interests remain paramount, preventing external pressures from compromising local autonomy. 5. Environmental considerations and sustainability initiatives. The push for economic development, especially in resource extraction, must contend with environmental concerns. The Demokraatit Party's reforms will need to integrate sustainable practices to mitigate ecological impacts. By 2025, the effectiveness of these environmental policies will be critical in maintaining public support and safeguarding Greenland's unique ecosystems. The balance between economic growth and environmental stewardship will likely emerge as a defining theme in the unfolding narrative of Greenland's independence. 6. Public sentiment and participation in governance. The political landscape in Greenland will continue to evolve as citizens engage with the reform process. By early 2025, the effectiveness of public consultations and participatory governance will be crucial in shaping policy decisions and maintaining public trust. If the Demokraatit Party successfully fosters a culture of transparency and inclusivity, it may strengthen its mandate and support for independence. Conversely, any perceived disconnect between the government and the populace could lead to political challenges and resistance. 7. Potential for economic diversification. In the longer term, Greenland's economy may benefit from diversification beyond mineral extraction and tourism. Investments in renewable energy technology and sustainable fisheries could create a more resilient economic base. By 2025, the foundations for such diversification may be laid, positioning Greenland as a leader in sustainable Arctic development and attracting a broader range of investments. Conclusion. The future of Greenland under the Demokraatit Party's business-focused reforms is poised for significant change, with potential for economic growth, improved living standards, and a gradual transition to independence by Q2 2025. However, the success of this agenda will depend on effective implementation, public support, and the ability to navigate complex geopolitical dynamics. As Greenland embarks on this transformative journey, balancing economic aspirations with environmental sustainability and social equity will be key to achieving a prosperous and independent future.